Okay, everybody, it's 1 o'clock. Ms. Allen, are you ready?
I'm ready when you are.
Okay, let's go on the record. I call case 23W0111, proceeding on motion of the commission as to the rates, charges, rules, and regulations of Veolia Water New York Incorporated for water service. Good afternoon. My name is Michael Clark. I'm an administrative law judge for the Department of Public Service. With me today is Administrative Law Judge Ashley Moreno. Together, we're responsible for presiding over the hearings in this case and the development of a complete record throughout the proceeding. We're also joined today by Zinnia Vega and Jill Wasser from the Department's Office of Consumer Services, who will be providing technical assistance. We're here today for a public statement hearing that was noticed on January 25th, 2024. The hearing is to receive your comments on a joint proposal filed in this proceeding on January 4th, 2024. Under New York State law, the Public Service Commission may adopt or reject the joint proposal in whole or in part, or modify it. The Public Service Commission consists of a chairperson, Rory Christian, and Commissioners Diane Berman, James Alisi, John Howard, David Valesky, and John Majori. We're fortunate this afternoon to have Commissioner Majori with us. Would you like to make any comments, Commissioner?
Thank you very much. I just want to thank anybody who has shown up virtually to participate in this process. As a member of the commission, I find the public comments very helpful in understanding items that come before the commission. Other than that, I'm here to hear from you. You're not here to hear from me, so I'm going to sit back and listen. But again, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to participate in this process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. As I stated earlier, the purpose of today's hearing is to provide you with an opportunity to tell the Commission your thoughts on the joint proposal. It is not an evidentiary hearing or a question and answer session, but rather a forum to hear comments from you. Any statements made today will become part of the case record. We have a court reporter on the line who will prepare a transcript of the hearing, which will be included in the official record of the proceeding, so that your comments can be considered by all members of the commission. When it's ready, the transcript will be available for view on the Department of Public Service website. I'd like to emphasize that this is not the only opportunity for you to comment. If you did not register to speak at today's hearing, but you would like your views included in the record, there are a variety of other ways to comment that were listed in the public notice for today's event. You can do so through the department's website, by regular mail, or by phone. Regardless of how comments are submitted, they will be given equal consideration. We have 9 people registered to speak today. We will not impose a time limit, but I do request that you provide your statement in a reasonable amount of time and avoid repeating yourself. When I call your name, we will unmute your line and notify you that you've been unmuted. Please remember that if you have put your own line on mute, you will also have to unmute your end before you begin to speak. Please state your name and speak slowly and clearly so that the court reporter can accurately record your statement. If you're speaking on behalf of an organization, please also provide the organization's name. Our first speaker today is Michelle Solomon. Ms. Solomon, if you've called in, please press *3 so we can recognize you and unmute your line. Again, Ms. Solomon, if you've called in, please press *3.
I don't see any hands raised.
Okay, in that case, we're going to move on to our next registered speaker, Ms. Sylvia Dundon. Please forgive me if I mangle anyone's name. I apologize.
Ms. Dundon, your line has been unmuted.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, thank you so much for taking the time to take our comments. My name is Sylvia Dundon. I'm the Executive Director of the Portchester, Rybrook, Ryetown Chamber of Commerce. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to share some feedback on behalf of some of my members. I represent businesses and investors in a community, Portchester, New York. And it's an exciting place to be right now. There's a lot of development and new housing projects that are going up. And I'm here to just express concern and dismay over the rate case, and specifically also just the need for better communication and information in situations like this where there are surcharges being imposed on developers and investors, and there really wasn't adequate communication and opportunity given to impacted parties in participating and giving feedback earlier rather than later. So I'm hoping that now, if there's still any opportunity, and certainly in the future, that there are better efforts made to be more inclusive and include our impacted members in these conversations to be part of the decision making. I'll also be submitting additional comments in writing for the record. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your comments. Our next speaker is Rajiv Shanatu. Rajiv Shanatu, if you've called in, please press *3. We can recognize you and unmute your line. And yeah, I think he's at the bottom.
He does not have an audio connected, but someone does have their, oh, there's another, he just came up.
Okay, you've been unmuted. Please provide your comment.
Hello.
Hi, can you hear me all right?
I can
Yes.
hear you.
Great. For this opportunity to comment, I'm hearing, okay, good. Appreciate the opportunity to submit the comments. My name is Rajiv Chainad, and I own properties at 208 and 216 King Street in Portchester, where I have an approved transit-oriented development project for 185 apartments. We submitted a request for the willingness to serve letter from Veolia, then Suez, in the summer of 2021. I speak before you today deeply troubled by Veolia's proposed charges on developers in this village of Portchester. This outrageous fee, disguised as a normal charge, threatens to cripple new housing and commercial development, jeopardizing not only my project, but the future of this community. Veolia's claims paint a misleading picture of commissioners. The charge is far from ordinary. It was never mentioned beforehand. Veolia only told us in early 2022 that they needed 6 months to conduct an internal review to determine their readiness for the water connection to our project and other projects. Now came up with this enormous charge as a done deal almost 3 years later, only to push this through without the proper PSC approval. We, one of the most important impacted parties, were kept in the dark about this review process, the potential expenses, and the discriminatory targeting of Portchester over wealthier neighboring communities. These charges are not affecting Rye Brook, and Harrison, from what I understand. This lack of transparency is unacceptable. Veolia failed to disclose that their existing approved main extension agreement already cover infrastructure improvements. Veolia never provided us with a developer agreement draft that shows the proposed charges. Please note that no other water company in the state burdens developers with these charges. In addition, Veolia never gave us a notice that it needed, and it was seeking approval of this new charge to developers in this rate case. Our community deserves better. This surprise fee throws a wrench into vital development projects, hinders much needed economic growth and progress in Portchester. For instance, my project should have been completed by now, had it was given the willingness to serve letter in 2021. Now, 3 years later, the project's viability is put in serious jeopardy by this egregious charge of over $1.1 million to its budget. Stalling the project for almost 3 years, waiting for the willingness to serve letter from Veolia, have negatively impacted the project in multiple ways, as we saw the increasing inflation, financing costs during that time. I am disappointed that the Village of Administration is willing to go along with this charge, unjust charge. We urge you to reject Veolia's deceptive proposal and protect the future of this village. Remember, our concerns come at this late stage due to Veolia's deliberate obfuscation. Let us not be penalized for their lack of transparency. I'm appearing because I only recently found out that the proposed contribution from developers was being considered in the rate case and accepted in the joint proposal being considered by your honors. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. Our next registered speaker is Dana Stilley. Stilley, you've been unmuted.
Good afternoon. I am a Rockland County Legislator Dana Stilley, and I know that the town, the 5 town supervisors, in conjunction with the county, have submitted formal opposition to the joint proposal, but I did want to come and just share a little bit more thoughts about it this afternoon, and my comments will be very brief. First and foremost, the proposed rate of increase of 26.8% over the 4 years really has failed to adequately consider the adverse financial impact on Rockland ratepayers. The ratepayers here in Rockland already pay amongst the highest rates in the entire state, and combining future PFAS chemical filtration expenses with this proposed rate increase will most certainly further escalate costs for the ratepayers beyond what would be considered reasonable. The proposed merger with Upstate Systems also does not appear to be in the best interest rate for Rocklanders. Rocklanders will subsidize expensive upgrades for upstate communities, and a full demonstration of tangible benefits to Rockland customers really is required, or the consolidation of Owego Nichols into Veolia, New York, simply should be rejected. Lastly, Veolia's conservation plan simply is not strong enough. It has no process for program implementation, for monitoring, or evaluation. The conservation plan, as it currently reads, leaves Rocklanders exposed to face future increased costs associated with the need to develop yet another potentially expensive supply project. The joint proposal doesn't address innovation or water conservation. It neglects to explore how climate change can best be achieved within its service territory. For these reasons and many others, again outlined in the formal letter that has already been submitted, I oppose the current joint proposal. Rockland ratepayers really deserve better. This current proposal will lead to unaffordable water rates, ineffective conservation procedures, and inadequate plans to address the impact of climate change on our water supply. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go back to Michelle Solomon. Ms. Solomon, if you've called in, please press *3. We can recognize you and unmute your line. I don't see any hands. Do you, Zinnia?
No, I do not.
All right, thank you. We're going to move on to Elijah Reichlin Melnick. Mr. Melnick, if you've called in, please press *3. We can unmute you. I do see a couple of hands from people who haven't registered. We will get to you when we've gone through the list of people who did pre-register to talk today. So I understand that there are some people perhaps waiting to comment. We will get to you when we're done with the list of people who pre-registered. I'm going to give Elijah Reichlin Melnick another opportunity to raise his hand. Press *3, please. Okay, we're going to move on. Next registered speaker is David Cooper. Mr. Cooper, you've been unmuted. Please provide your statement. Zinnia, do you see David Cooper? It looks like he's muted still.
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Sorry about that.
All right. Thank you, Your Honor. Yep, it's okay. Yes, my name is David Cooper. I'm a partner with the law firm of Zarin and Steinmetz in White Plains. We represent the Renatus Group, the owners and developer of multiple properties in the village of Portchester. That includes the site of a proposed 15-story mixed-use building next to the train station, another transit-oriented development, as well as several commercial sites along Midland Avenue. I'm speaking to you today on the proposed Portchester Development Project Cost Sharing Framework on page 45 of the joint proposal. I believe you've heard a couple of other comments on this, but I also want to add some thoughts. The parties are asking the Public Service Commission to approve a proposal where the company will pass through to developers 80% of a $48 million estimated cost to modernize water infrastructure. This framework was negotiated without the input from any of the developers, as you've already heard. Legally, I question the validity of this framework. Would not appear to pass due process muster if the main stakeholder was not involved and excluded from the negotiations on this, but that may be for another day. I'm here, Your Honors, to highlight a practical problem with the proposed framework, which I would submit or respectfully submit that it arises most likely because the developers were not engaged in the process. My bet is that everybody that was at the table that was trying to come up or calculate the 80% share felt that the developers would have, proverbial deep pockets or unending revenue sources to cover 80% of the cost. And I'm here to respectfully submit that that's a myopic view of the economic conditions in New York State, as well as in the village of Portchester. The commission may know that it's very expensive to invest in New York State, particularly in housing in New York State, and particularly in the village of Portchester, as it attempts to revitalize its downtown and commercial corridors. You have baseline costs, construction costs, carrying costs, property taxes, but then also the commission may not know that Portchester has implemented a complex fair share fee system where developers must pay to mitigate a range of items, which ranges from the number of traffic trips that that's attributable to their project, the number of potential school children, community facility fees, sewer I&I fees, parking space fees, recreational fees. When you add that all up, it increases the cost side of any pro forma by $1 million or more. These are projects, and I think you've heard already from several others, these are projects that are at razor thin margins already. If you're going to add another 7-figure cost onto this pro forma, you're not yielding a viable development. So what I submit is going to happen is two potential outcomes. Either most of the developers cannot move forward with the projects and the company and the village are going to be stuck with the upgrades themselves. That certainly would undermine the village's revitalization efforts, and I think it also undermines the entire purpose of this agreement. Or developers will move forward but have to pass that cost along essentially to the people that they're going to rent to, which are the consumers or the customers who are paying the water fees, essentially who the Public Service Commission is supposed to protect. So by bottom line here, by excluding the main stakeholders from the discussions, the parties have arrived at an economically infeasible solution. I just take a giant step back for a second and recognize that there's a housing crisis in New York, and it's not going to be solved by making investments in housing so expensive that it's infeasible. A successful redevelopment only occurs where there is a partnership between the public and private sectors, and we really need to engage all stakeholders here. Based on that, I would ask the Public Service Commission not accept the 80%, 20% split proposal in the joint proposal on page 45, and compel the company in the village to sit down with the developers to figure out an economically feasible approach to offsetting the cost of these upgrades. At least modify the split so that it's economically viable, so that you will actually see a redevelopment or revitalization in Portchester that I think everybody wants to see and everybody wants to invest in. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Our next registered speaker is Kevin Leahy. Mr. Leahy, you've been unmuted. Please provide your statement.
Yeah, just Kevin Leahy, 44 Broad Owner LLC. We just wanted to highlight, should the commission choose to approve the joint proposal or send it back for further discussion, just one of the items we asked to be reviewed further is the specific commercial square footage fee as currently proposed. What we believe it doesn't account
Excuse
for
me,
is the fact that
excuse me,
commercial.
Kevin, I'm sorry, this is a
Yes.
recorder. You're not coming in very clearly.
Yeah, Mr. Leahy, perhaps if you just slow down a little bit, you were a little garbled. Are you still there? It looks like Mr. Leahy was remuted. Okay, Mr. Leahy, you've been unmuted. Sorry about that.
Can you hear me?
Please. Yes, we can.
Oh, no problem. Can you hear me better now?
That's a little
I can
better,
right
yes.
now, yes.
We were just asking that we would highlight that the proposed commercial rate per square foot does not adequately differentiate between multiple commercial uses. Clearly, there are higher water flow uses under the commercial use category than just one individual use. So warehousing, industrial, self-storage, and other uses would have a substantially lower water requirement, and we just asked that they would review that in the event that this is sent back for further changes or negotiation, and that different use categories have a different price per square foot allocation for cost under whatever approved proposal is adopted. That's all we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Leahy. Zinnia, it looks like we have Elijah Reichlin-Melnick. If you could unmute Mr. Melnick, please. Mr. Reichlin-Melnick, he appears about midway down the list that I'm seeing, Zinnia.
Let me refresh and make sure that I was not seeing. Oh, there he goes.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thanks.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm former State Senator Elijah Reichlin-Melnick, and I've been a longtime advocate for clean drinking water and for Rockland's environment. And I'm just wanted to leave this comment. You know, this proposed rate increase is going to lead to more expensive drinking water, which will be essentially at unaffordable levels for Rocklanders. Not only would this result in an approximately 26% increase, it will come on top of rates that are already some of the highest in New York State. Additionally, it's well known that Rockland has elevated levels of PFAS and PFOS in our drinking water. These forever chemicals are harming our communities. How could Veolia propose any rate hike, let alone such a large rate hike under these conditions? To me, it's an outrage and it's absolutely unacceptable. Furthermore, this isn't the only potential burden on Rocklanders. We may still be on the hook for millions of dollars for the desalination project. We're already charged for higher than average leak rates, and along with the proposed merger with Upstate Systems, it would lead to Rocklanders subsidizing upgrades for upstate communities. It is not fair to Rockland County. I encourage Veolia and the PSC to look at other options before further burdening Rockland County. Similar to other water companies, they could pursue public funding as well as lawsuits against the manufacturers of these forever chemicals. This could result in significant income that can and should be used for these projects before passing the buck on to Rocklanders. We must do better. Rockland gets the short end of the stick far too often, and I encourage that to end now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next registered speaker is Deborah Munitz. Ms. Munitz, if you've called in, please press *3. We can identify you and unmute your line.
I do not see anyone with their hand raised.
Okay, we'll try Robert Tompkins. Mr. Tompkins, same thing. If you're calling in, please press *3.
Again, Your Honor.
Okay, I think that in that case, we will move on, and it looks like Elizabeth Matsuda has her hand raised. Ms. Matsuda, you've been unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, Judge Clark and Judge Moreno, I'm just a private citizen who has been watching in dismay as this water privatization disaster unfolds in front of me here in Rockland County. Food and Water Watch warns us that the privatization of water leads to increases as high as 60%, and it surely seems that this is what we are seeing now as Veolia threatens us with an almost 30% rate increase. Furthermore, Veolia says that this enormous cost is because of mandated requirements to our infrastructure to deal with PFAS contamination of our water, but I do not understand why these costs are being passed along to us. I do not understand why they are not going against the polluters for relief and why instead they are telling us, in effect, that we have to bear the expense. I do not understand their profiteering off of our water when public shared ownership of water is our right, not a commodity. It appears that Veolia's corporate reputation involves huge rate increases, lawsuits all over the world, accidents, and the corporate buck passing typical in movies like Michael Clayton. It surely seems that we in Rockland County are up against a multinational corporation, which we all know is designed to maximize shareholder profits at the expense of their customers. For example, we are being expected to bear the lingering costs of the ill-planned Suez desalination project. When an individual like me makes a bad bet on something, I have to suffer the loss. Veolia is attempting to pass that loss along to us. Also, Veolia is trying to spread infrastructure costs from across the state onto us. I do not want to pay for Owego's new water system, not unless they and Veolia dip in and share the costs with us. I am also very disappointed in our state agencies that are supposed to hold them accountable, to represent us, to speak for us, to protect us. After all, we are paying their salaries. I do not understand why they are protecting Veolia at our expense. Here's what I want: a plan going forward that is not designed by Veolia alone and rubber stamped by the state, but instead takes into account science-based designs and cost-effective plans from systems around the US that are already working. At this point, I so envy Lee, Massachusetts, where citizens refused to have their water management privatized and were able to prevent Veolia's takeover. I wonder how they did it. Probably it's because they had effective government agencies on their side. I want our state regulators to help Rockland County taxpayers by regulating our water in a way that serves the public interest and to stop giving in to corporate interests by rubber stamping their plans to pass massive cost increases along to us. Veolia talks a good line with its shiny multinational PR, but I oppose their plan as it's written and ask you to support us in rejecting it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Matsuda. I do see a couple of other hands, but before we get to them, we're going to go back to 3 people who pre-registered to speak but weren't there when we called them the first time. We'll begin with Michelle Solomon. Ms. Solomon, if you've called in, please press *3. How about Deborah Munitz? Robert Tompkins? Jenny,
I
no
do not.
hands.
No new hands, no.
All right, thank you. In that case, will you please unmute Mr. Cooney? John Cooney Jr. has his hand. Mr. Cooney, you've been unmuted.
I thank you very much. My name is John Cooney Jr. I am the Executive Director of the Construction Industry Council of Westchester and the Hudson Valley. I thank you for the time that you granted me to speak today. I'm calling today to emphasize to the Department of Public Service that Veolia should be applauded for its commitment to improving water infrastructure in Rockland County and Westchester as well. In this rate filing, Veolia is pledging to invest $470 million to improve and enhance the county's water system. Since their last rate filing 4 years ago, they've invested $440 million. That means that from 2020 to 2027, Veolia will invest $913 million into Rockland County. That is remarkable. Infrastructure across the United States is crumbling, and we need companies like Veolia that are willing to invest in the future of our country. Our water mains need to be replaced along with service lines, hydrants, and meters. The Veolia rate filing is in the best interest, the best long-term interest of its customers. I thank you for this time.
Thank you. Cindy, if you could unmute Matthew Pepe. Mr. Pepe, you've been unmuted.
Hi, thank you. My name is Matthew Pepe. I'm the Executive Director of the Building Contractors Association. We represent many of the contractors do commercial building and infrastructure work throughout the region. I'm also a lifelong Rockland resident, and I'm here today to express my support for Veolia's proposed rate increase. Veolia's pledge to invest nearly $500 million in infrastructure improvements is crucial for the long-term well-being of our communities in both Rockland and Westchester. We're talking 500,000 homes and businesses are set to benefit from these upgrades, replacement of aging infrastructure, which result in the enhancement of water quality and supply. I believe this is a significant commitment from Veolia that will also create a significant amount of jobs. And these workers are local, they pay taxes locally, they buy goods and services locally. So the proposed investment of $470+ million goes further than just what's on paper. Beyond financial considerations, I'm personally a volunteer on many committees and local organizations throughout Rockland, Orange, and Westchester. I can attest that Veolia sits on many of them alongside me. By supporting initiatives that benefit our residents and businesses, Veolia contributes to the overall prosperity of the Hudson Valley. As a representative of both the contracting community and also as a ratepayer myself, I don't take rate increases lightly, but I believe that Veolia's proposed rate increase is necessary for the continued improvement of our water infrastructure. Their investment in our community and commitment to social responsibility makes this proposal worthy of support, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go back to Michelle Solomon. Ms. Solomon, if you've called in, please press *3 on your phone. Deborah Munitz.
Your Honor, I do not
Robert.
see any new hands.
Okay, and Robert Tompkins.
There are no hands raised at this moment.
Okay, in that case, we're going to open up the hearing to anyone in attendance who did not pre-register to speak, who would like to make a comment. If you've called in,
Oh,
please
we have a
press
call.
*3. Okay, you can.
You've been unmuted, call-in user.
Hello, my name is Donna Chipperino, and I'm a lifelong resident of Rockland County. I live here with my family. My parents are in the county.
I'm sorry. Could you please state and spell your name, please, for the record?
Of course. It's Donna, D-O-N-N-A, Chipperino, C-H-I-A, P-P as in Peter, E, R as in Robert, I, N as in Nancy, O.
Thank you.
No problem. So my family, as I was saying, I was born and raised in Rockland, so is my husband. My 3 children have grown up here. And I understand that nobody wants to see rate increases, but we've become used to safe drinking water here. That does unfortunately come at a cost. And in the news, we see reports of harmful compounds in drinking water in communities throughout the world and even in our own country. In this rate filing, it is my understanding that Veolia has requested millions of dollars to remove potentially harmful compounds from our drinking water. That money is required to treat the water to meet the standards, and I and my family value that safety and health. Secondly, I have many friends throughout Rockland and Westchester that were impacted by COVID. Veolia was extremely generous, and by the end of 2022, had helped customers, I believe, across the country with almost $10 million in bill relief, and $3.75 million of that was in New York. In this rate filing, Veolia proposes initial funding of $1.5 million and has on top of this contributed $4 million to this rate filing to reduce this impact on customers. Finally, my last point is that Veolia is one of the largest employers and one of the largest taxpayers in Rockland County, paying close to $25 million in property taxes per year. We have a lot of companies moving out. The company's willingness to invest almost $500 million in improving the water infrastructure in Rockland, where our water pipes, tanks, and meters are perilously old, is invaluable to me and to my family's future. So not only me, but to my kids if they want to live here. These improvements that I've mentioned, the treatments and the assistance are needed to ensure the safety and health of my family and my community, not just today, but for years to come. Nobody wants to pay more for anything. However, I know that my family and my friends know that if we want to ensure safety and a better infrastructure that will help my children in the future, it's something that we have to endure and will gratefully do so. So I, for one, do support Veolia's new rates. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment. Vinny, if you don't mind just moving right down the list to the next call-in user.
Your line has been unmuted.
Who is this for Jacqueline Drexler or Jocelyn DiCrescenzo?
Actually, your name is not showing, but whoever is speaking should feel free to make the comment that you would like to make.
Okay, I'm going to do a comment from myself and also a comment from my twin sister, Jocelyn DiCrescenzo. I did register for both of these hearings for both of us, so I'm a little upset that I hadn't been shown up. Okay, my name is Jacqueline Drexler, and I'm living at 116 Sierra Vista Lane. Can you hear me okay?
Can you please spell your name, please, Jacqueline?
Sure. It's JACQUELYNDRECHSLER.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hold on. And I live at 116 Sierra Vista Lane, Valley Cottage, New York.
There's a little bit of echoing with Jacqueline.
Yeah, Ms. Drexler, if you can, I think, bring the phone a little closer to your mouth, that might help.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
No, actually, it's a little worse.
Okay, hold on. You know what? So here's the issue. My sister's phone is on. I'm going to turn it off, and then I'm going to use this WebEx for both of us.
Okay, that sounds good. Zinnia, so Ms. Drexler is showing as an electronic user now. If you could unmute her, please. There you go.
Okay. So you have my name and my address, and I can begin?
Yes.
Okay. My concerns. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My concerns. Number one, the DPS staff dismisses Rockland County residents who have become rather expert on water over the years and who reach out to experts. Whereas the DPS staff does not have technical expertise on water and does not reach out to experts. Number two, the fact that DPS quoted a Veolia manager as their source for information regarding funding for PFAS remediation, taking Veolia's word that there is no funding, and then DPS not doing their own due diligence on this issue is astounding. It is very reminiscent of the Suez DeSalle approval, where DPS staff took Suez's faulty and misleading information as the truth, leading to the approval of the desalination project, which we are still paying for. Number 3, DPS has also taken Veolia's word for it, and I quote, that it is too hard for them to do the math, end quote, for them to figure out the rate hike without including the desal charges. Really? We know that Veolia has masses of attorneys. Don't they have any smart accountants? Another $5 million, sock it to the ratepayers. They are bleeding us dry. Number 4, DPS and the PSC must engage in oversight on expenses and costs to the public. We will be looking at the DPS and PSC audits closely. Number 5, willingness to serve letters in large developments equals more customers for Veolia. Developers should pay the cost, not ratepayers. The willingness to serve letters here in Rockland County go on until there will be no more water left to serve, according to Rockland County former Department of Health waterman Dan Miller. Veolia is bleeding us dry. There is an issue as we do need more housing. The company needs to work with developers and again should not be creating such a burden onto the ratepayers. Number 6, in July of 2021, then Governor Cuomo signed a bill into law. I call it the Right to Know Water Bill. People who own or rent in multifamily rentals, condos, co-ops, etc., do not receive critical information on public health issues to do with water health and safety and on non-emergency water shutoffs. Senate Bill S3789, and I quote, authorizes the PSC to require waterworks corporations to provide certain residents with non-billing related information, end quote. When will the PSC honor this statement? Several residents, myself included, work with Assemblymember Ken Zabrowski's office to present a plan to Veolia and to the PSC. A junior high school student could have already implemented this. Furthermore, multifamily dwellers pay higher rates for water than residential single-family water users. We are single-family water users. We, people in condos and co-ops and rentals, are not profit corporations. This needs to be changed. Number 7, the PSC should require Veolia to pay for an independent study on their conservation plan and on a climate change plan. Veolia's conservation plan is very weak and they need recommendations to implement to strengthen conservation. The fact that Veolia does not have a climate change mitigation plan is incredible. No mention of planning for drought, higher temperatures, extreme storms, or sustainable watershed planning. Number 8, it is time for the PSC to revisit the possibility of Rockland County having its own water authority. We are drowning in high bills, leaking pipes, and stinky ass dirty water. Number 9, reject this joint proposal. It is totally unfair to Rockland County ratepayers with unsustainable and unaffordable water rates for water that is not safe. Thank you very much. And now, because I'm on the phone and my twin sister is not here, I would like to read her public statement. So I'm just going to move over to that. Her name is Jocelyn DiCrescenzo. Do you need the spelling of her name?
Yes, please.
Jocelyn, capital D, small e, capital C, RESCENZO. She also lives at 116 Sierra Vista Lane, Valley Cottage, New York. And she appreciates the opportunity to be heard today. She also has a disability and is entitled to time and a half, and I don't believe we will use it, but there was no button to press on being disabled and needing extra time.
It's okay. We haven't imposed a time limit, so.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, her concerns. Number 1, the total cost of this proposed rate hike will be 26.8% over 4 years. Rockland County already pays one of the highest rates in the state. This rate hike is on top of the surcharge for the failed desalination plant, which had been proposed by then United Water Suez, which was never built. Somehow during the hostile takeover by Veolia of Suez, Veolia was approved by the PSC and seems to be entitled to get millions, tons of money for something they had no part of and that never even existed. By you people at the PSC. Rockland County ratepayers have already paid off $30 million of the $58 million tab still owing approximately, I don't know, somewhere between 19 and $28 million, which seems to be included in this rate hike, leading to an estimated $5 million overpayment from us, the ratepayers, to them, Veolia. You guys at the PSC, once again, screwing us, the ratepayers. We should not be paying a single penny for the failed desalination plant, a long shot gamble that United Water Suez engaged in at our expense. 2, Veolia is in the business of making money and has purchased distressed water properties upstate that need a lot of TLC, somehow, quote, merging, end quote, those costs with Rockland County as Veolia wants to soak us by, quote, spreading the costs of upgrading these severely distressed properties onto a larger base, end quote. The larger base is us. 3, the bill so far for remediation of PFAS and PFOAs is $66.5 million, which includes $3.3 million for one of 2 wells in Owego, New York, plus $11 million more for other upstate wells. And Veolia plans to purchase even more, which we will apparently be paying for as the, quote, larger base, end quote. The $66.5 million only covers 12 wells, with 31 more wells to go, with a price tag of perhaps $150 million. Veolia seems to think that Rockland County is the golden goose which continually lays golden eggs for them. Veolia has not aggressively gone after polluters or federal or public monies to help defray the cost of the PFAS cleanup. 4, I would like to ask you questions about all of this and more, but in my years of experience putting in comments, testimony, and serious questions with my grave concerns, not once have I ever gotten an answer, and here's why. Because the PSC and the DPS staffers only incorporate faulty and misleading information from the utilities supplied to them by the utilities, with a total disregard concerning information supplied by residents, ratepayers, some of whom are citizen scientists and who know a lot more about water and Rockland County than they do. The DPS seems to have no technical expertise regarding water and does not look to any experts in the field for assistance, not an ounce of curiosity or interest in knowing more about how water really works. Number 5, Rockland County is being hosed by a French-owned company, and the PSC and the DPS is totally complicit in this. I feel that Veolia is engaging in usury, in, quote, pulling the wool over our eyes, end quote. But our eyes are wide open. It is time for you to get rid of your dead wood. I am tired of this. In fact, we are all tired of this. It is time for the Attorney General of the state of New York to open an investigation, a deeper dive, if you will, into the incredibly murky, turbulent, and truly stinky waters of Veolia and of the New York State PSC and staff. We don't know who is in bed with whom. We are tired of doing the work for you and then getting reamed as a result. Thank you for your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Does any of you unmute the next calling user? Okay, you've been unmuted.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. My name is Alyssa Bora, and I'm calling to express my support for Veolia's joint proposal. I'm delighted to learn that Veolia is committed and has been committed to continue its customer conservation program and also create a
what is
new
your
water.
last name, please? Alyssa, could you spell your name, please?
Alissa, B as in boy, ORRA.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm calling to express my support for Veolia's joint proposal, and I'm delighted to learn that Veolia is committed and has been committed to continue its customer conservation program and also create a new water affordability program for its customers. To me, this is excellent news. I think it's important that utility companies like Veolia find ways to help customers navigate the high cost of living in Rockland and Westchester County. The joint proposal has many benefits, and I believe that it should be ratified by the state. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is...
Hi, how are you?
Okay, we can hear you. Please identify yourself and spell your name for the court reporter, please.
Of course. My name is Stephen Stein. Stein is the last name. I've been a Rockland resident my entire life. And first of all, thank you for allowing me to speak today.
No problem. Thank you.
I think it's important for the Department of Public Service to recognize that Veolia is very active and committed to the communities where they operate. In addition to providing a very reliable supply of drinking water, Veolia is one of the region's most charitable organizations. They support many programs and events in Rockland and Westchester, and several members of Veolia's management team are the board of directors of nonprofit organizations. Veolia's community efforts during the pandemic were noteworthy. To help customers recover from the pandemic, Veolia contributed an amount equal to 30% of each active residential customer's arrears that were more than 60 days overdue. That's very generous. They also donated $20,000 each to Montefiore Nyack, Good Samaritan Hospital, and Montefiore New Rochelle, the 3 hospitals that serve their communities. Thank you, and I appreciate the time to speak.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have a call in. You've been unmuted. Please identify yourself and spell your name for the court reporter.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, hi. Okay, I want to make sure it's me. Yeah, my name is Michael Starvaggi. That's Starvaggi. I did register, so I'm not sure what happened, but I did get a registration confirmation earlier, but so I'm not sure what happened. But anyway, I'm a resident of Rockland County, and I'm calling in to express my support for the rate increase, the proposed rate increase for Veolia. I've been very happy with the service that Veolia has provided over the years, and I, for one, am happy and like the idea of privatization of water supply, and I think we are fortunate to have Veolia as a supplier. The way I see it, providing safe drinking water is a tremendous undertaking, and I think we have to be realistic about our approach here. I understand that Veolia is seeking significant funds to remove potentially harmful compounds from our drinking water. So I think it's easy for people to say they want all the benefits of the best possible drinking water, but not want to look realistically at the costs associated with providing it. And I think that realistically, it's understandable that there's a high cost to treating water to meet the best standards. And so I feel that an increase in the increase proposed is appropriate. And I urge the state to approve the proposal. I believe that it is in the best interest of Rockland County and its residents. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Zinnia, if you could unmute G. McCready, please. Okay, you've been unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Okay,
great. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I'm a business owner in Rockland County, as well as a customer of Veolia. I do understand the issues that come with rate increases to the customers, as I am one.
I'm sorry, Mr. McCready, would you please just give us your first name, please?
First name is Glenn.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure. But I also realize, in this day and age, the cost of maintaining and improving the system and some of these required upgrades that are coming from the federal government, they do cost money, and the costs of, doing that kind of work are not going down. Veolia has done an outstanding job in our area, maintaining, improving the system, and for the moderate increases in rates, I think it's a reasonable thing to be passed on to the customers, and I'm looking forward to being the customer in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, if we could just move right down the list.
Call-in user, you've been unmuted.
Hello? It looks like they fell off, but there's one more call-in user with a hand. There we go. Hello?
Hi,
We can hear you.
My name is Harry Vetter, so registered, same as several other people, and I got a confirmation, and it's a bewildering. I did not appear on any list. Name is
Okay, well, I
Harry
apologize
Vetter
for that, Mr.
Victory
Vetter.
ET.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but would you mind please spelling your last name for the court reporter?
It's a V as Victory, E-E-R, T as in Tango. And I'm
Thank you very
from Upper Nyack. I'm chair of the Upper Nyack Green Committee. The residents of Rockland County, we pay about the highest water rates in all of New York State. 26.8% rate increase per year is way out of line. Consumers and ratepayers feel like we are taken to the cleaners. Why would we foot the bill for a $14 million acquisition to New York with the indication that there are more such acquisitions to come? Particularly concerned about PFAS in our drinking water. Our chemicals were not caused by Veolia, and the costly mediation of $67 million so far not be borne by the water company, who conveniently passes it through to its customers. Veolia needs to aggressively pursue federal funding and work to partake in PFAS settlements by the primary chemical culprits, the 3M and DuPont, of $13.7 billion that was done last year alone. It's a massive multinational giant after other big giants to bear the cost of cleanup to minimize the serious health risk cost. Fight to save clean water. The cancers such as kidney, reproductive, birth defects, and other risks involved, and that no level of PFAS in our drinking water is safe. Maximum level of these contaminants to 4 parts per trillion, as the EPA has put forth. There will be further mitigation expense population at large cannot afford. Veolia needs to keep all its customers informed, not just by burying information on their website, but straightforward, direct communication to homeowners, condo and co-op residents. 2 years ago, we had flash flood conditions in, 2 years ago, we had flash drought conditions in Rockland. It does not seem that a lesson has been learned. Various restrictions in place, for instance, for non-essential lawn watering, and not just when the drought is at its peak. A lack of climate planning, whose impact affects our water supply in many ways. Algae in reservoirs, for instance. More chemicals are not the answer. The largest water company in the world ought to have the expertise to reduce the exorbitant leak rate in Rockland of 22% to generally acceptable levels of 15 to 18%. Reduce waste that we are paying for. For your consideration, for your time, and for this hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Vetter. Okay, call-in user, you've been unmuted. Please identify yourself and spell your name for the court reporter. Hello?
I will mute them again and unmute the next person.
Okay, thank you.
Call user.
Yes, we can hear
hello.
you.
Hi, my name is Adina, A-D-E-E-N-A. My last name is Brown, like the color.
What color?
Brown.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I am a lifetime resident of Rockland, and I just wanted to say that the quality of our drinking water has become an important issue across the nation. There's obviously been several serious problems in recent years that have been very unfortunate. Because of that, I am happy to have a global company like Veolia overseeing our water service. Veolia has a global network of experts to help keep our system safe and reliable. I do believe that they are experts in this industry, and because of that, regulations for water quality have become more stringent. Veolia has the people and the resources to meet these new standards and sustain the high level of water quality that we enjoy in Rockland and Westchester. And I thank you for the time to speak.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Vinny, I don't see any more raised hands. Do you?
No, I do not.
Okay. Again, we're just going to give anyone who's on the line an opportunity to make a statement if they would like to. If you've called in, please press *3. There's one hand. Oh, okay, you've been unmuted. Call-in user, please make your statement.
Hello, my name is Desiree Rivera, R-I-V-E-R-A.
Thank you. Please proceed.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for the time for me to have a moment to speak on behalf of supporting the joint of Veolia. I'm speaking on behalf of the residents of Rockland and Westchester counties who have trouble paying their monthly bills, as most of us do these days. After the pandemic, rising costs and inflation has made it difficult for most working families, including families like mine, a single income household raising children. I think Veolia has been extremely generous in these times. And I know at the end of 2022, Veolia had helped customers across the country with nearly $10 million in relief, including $3.75 million in New York alone. And I know Veolia continues to promote financial assistance programs to New Yorkers and residents that are in the same situation that I am. Veolia, in my experience, Veolia is also proposing an affordability program along with this joint venture with the initial funding of $1.5 million and Veolia themselves contributing $4 million on top of that to reduce the cost impact on its customers. I wish New York State had more companies like Veolia. The company truly cares about its customers, as well as we all know we don't want to pay more for any services, but that is where we are today, and I believe that Veolia takes that very seriously. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Zinnia, if you could unmute Leg Cleary, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Legislator Cleary from Rockland County. Service Commission meeting, and I think one of the things that I'm concerned with in listening to the speakers here is a lot of the people who are speaking in favor of the rate increase. Perhaps they should be forced to identify themselves and what their relationship is with Veolia. To have people calling in and pretending they're just private citizens and shilling for Veolia Water Company is a little surprising to me. We had a caller earlier. I believe her name was Donna Ciparone. I think she works for Mike Lawler, our congressperson. And I think it's unfair for people to be calling in and pretending they're just private citizens concerned, and then supporting the Veolia position on this rate increase. So perhaps in the future, people should be asked what their relationship is to Veolia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Legislator Cleary. We have 2 more call-in users who have raised hands. Call-in user, you've been unmuted. Please identify yourself for the record. Hello? Hello? Zinnia, let's try the next person, please. Hello, you've been unmuted. Are you perhaps muted on your end, call-in user, please? All right, Zinnia, let's move to Chris Sweeney, please. Chris Sweeney, you are unmuted. Please provide your statement.
Oh, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Chris Sweeney, K-R-I-S-S-W-E-N-E-Y. I am a Rockland County resident for 20-something years. And I'm actually also surprised at the amount of people calling in that are pro-rate hike. I cannot possibly understand when our water still, after years and years, contains PFAS and PFOS chemicals, and they have not even addressed.
I'm sorry, Ms. Sweeney. We lost you there for a second.
I'm also surprised at the people calling in that are pro-rate hike for Rockland County. I have been here for 21 years. I have children, young adult children, who have experienced, anecdotally, there have been within my family, my friends, my neighbors, young adults with various hormonal imbalances, PCOS, PMDD, these things. My neighbor's son is in his 20s and had a reproductive cancer, a male. And the rates of certain types of cancer around here are absolutely staggering. Now, I have been on webinars and things over the years where I have learned that the PFAS, PFOS effects on children, teenagers, developing people is mainly to their endocrine system, to hormones, to, here's another thing that I find strange. Myself, my neighbor, we had healthy athletic teenagers that just through routine blood work, or actually maybe not routine blood work, but found out that they had high cholesterol with no family history and healthy, athletic, young people, one of whom was even a vegetarian. So the idea that is also linked to endocrine disrupting chemicals like these that my family has consumed for 2 decades now. The lack of information and transparency, and also the availability to test my family, my children, blood levels, things like that in an organized fashion is completely missing. And I don't understand, with the level of PFAS in our water, which has still not been addressed, that is millions and millions of dollars, how that cost can now be passed on to me as a consumer. So not only did you not take care of it, and we're still drinking these chemicals, now I'm supposed to pay over 25% increase for the same water that has not been addressed, has not been remediated, has not been made better and free of these chemicals. And I appreciate when people say that Veolia has been a good community partner and has donated back and things like that, but this is a corporation, that's all tax write-offs. I would rather, as a consumer, that they put millions and millions into remediating and taking care of these PFAS chemicals, which are poisoning our families. And the lack of transparency and information, I mean, to be honest, I only kind of found out very last minute about this meeting, and I'm a ratepayer and a consumer, and it is almost impossible for people, especially people who are working, to take part in these things. I really very, very strongly, as a consumer with no ties to Veolia whatsoever, reject this rate hike on the grounds that they're not doing their job in giving us safe and clean water. And they need to go after, I mean, they're a huge corporation. They can pay for these huge multi-million-dollar law firms to go after the chemical, whoever caused this. I know it wasn't Veolia, but go after DuPont or whoever. Don't charge me for PFAS water. It makes no sense. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sweeney. Okay, we have a call-in user who has been unmuted. We can't hear you.
Judge, that was the same calling user from before. I'm not sure if they're aware that they've been unmuted and they need to unmute from their end as well.
Okay, call-in user. We don't have the last 4 digits of your phone number, but 845-987. You've been unmuted. If you're muted on your end, please unmute yourself so we can hear your statement.
You hear me?
Go. Hello?
And I represent
I'm sorry, can you tell
the
you,
law.
can you give us your name again, please?
Daniel,
Okay.
D-U-I-E.
Is that the last name?
Nation,
Daniel, what's your last name?
I-E.
All I heard was I-E.
Yeah, Daniel, I'm afraid that we are intermittently hearing you. If you could start from the beginning, it would probably be helpful, please.
Daniel, I-E.
Okay, please provide your statement.
Represent Nation Lofts, 180-unit residential development located New Broad Street, the Metro North. Being developed by Hines will include 4
I'm
feet of
sorry, but
interior
he's
amenities.
cutting out a lot, Judge.
Yeah, I agree, Daniel. Unfortunately, we can only hear about every 2 or 3 words.
Try to move to another location. Provide better.
Okay.
Do I sound better?
That's much better, yes.
I will start my statement again.
Yeah, that would be great. And,
benefit of
and I don't believe that we actually got your last name completely. So please start from the beginning. That would be helpful.
Spelled Duffy, D-U-I-E. Port Chester Station Lofts, 80-unit development north,
Still cutting out a lot.
developed by Hines and will include 24 parking spaces, square feet of interior amenities. About 400 people during construction, $100 million. Operates in 30 countries, 700 employees with over 521 million industrial distribution, residential, multifamily, housing, hotel, sports, arts, and cultural. 31st, Hines had of investment assets under management. Has already agreed to pay for off-site system improvements. Port Chester. This will serve letter. Total approximately 1,000. Any customer-specific connection costs. For the record, I will send in the will serve letters in our possession. Well, Suez, dates from December.
Mr. Duvey, I'm sorry, but again, you're cutting in and out.
Is that better?
That's better.
Judge, we're not going to have a clear transcript for him. Sorry.
Okay, well, we'll do our best. And Mr. Duthie, please continue with your statement.
The joint proposal calls for an additional investment dollars identified developers, of which 80% will be paid for by the developers. Sizable investment has already agreed to, wants to be sure it is not part of the developer group to fund the 38 point count, and would be especially unfair is not receiving any benefits under the new zoning. In other words, the size of the project is the same before and after the new zoning. Statement, if you have any questions, happy to send a statement, reporter.
Yes, Mr. Duthie, I think that would be helpful if you could file written comments online. I would like to remind everyone that we're also having another public statement hearing this evening at 6. If you wanted to make a statement, but perhaps we're unable to do so this afternoon. But I do think it would be a good idea if you submitted those comments in writing, just so the commission is aware of your concerns. All right, thank you very much. It doesn't appear that we have any other raised hands or people who would like to give a statement this afternoon. As I said moments ago, we do have another public statement hearing scheduled for this evening at 6 o'clock. And also, as I mentioned earlier, anyone who would like to can also submit comments through the department's website by regular mail or by phone. We do have a couple of raised hands. I think we should give them a chance to speak. Does any of you could please unmute the first one there? Okay, you've been unmuted. What's your name?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
My name is Janet Leshner, Leshner. I live in Nanuet, New York. I'm over 50 years in Rockland County. When I first moved here, I was an adult, and as long as I can remember living here, we have been told to conserve water. Yet it appears to me as if there's been no development of resources in terms of water over these many years, and if there are not enough. Yet there's been a tremendous increase in the population. The water company is still doing hookups for new development. Towns are talking about new development as a good thing, and it's being allowed. And what I wonder is, where is all that water coming from? We don't have an infinite supply. I find it almost very hard to believe that so many people who called in are actually supporting this rate increase. There's been no evidence that Veolia has done anything to get funding to alleviate the PFAS problem. They've dragged their feet. They haven't been, it seems to me they're basically not involved. And if they were doing such a good job, why would organizations like Riverkeeper, Food and Water Watch, Scenic Hudson, Sierra Club Atlantic Chapter, and other organizations support a response that gave a negative reply to the joint proposal? I support what Elijah Reichlin Melnick has said in this meeting call. I support what Jackie Drexler has said. Jackie Drexler presented facts that indicate that Veolia is not doing a good job. And so many people calling in saying they would support this rate increase is beyond belief. And I think what Legislator Cleary said was that people should be asked if they have any kind of affiliation with Veolia before they give their answer. And I'll tell you, I have absolutely no affiliation. All I know is a 28 point whatever increase in water rate is absurd for a company that is doing so little for us with a resource that is essential for life. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Zinnia, if you could unmute Andrew Ehinger, please. Mr. Ehinger, you've been unmuted.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Hi, this is Andrew Anger speaking on behalf of 350 Portchester LLC, the owner of property located at 354 North Main Street in the village of Portchester. I'd like to comment on the Portchester Infrastructure Improvement Plan, and specifically, we object to how the contributions required by developers for commercial projects is being calculated. Calculating the contributions for commercial projects by coming up with a price per square foot fee and multiplying it against the total square footage of a project is not accurate or equitable. Not all commercial uses are equal in their water demand and consumption and should not be treated as such. For example, our proposed self-storage project is unique in that it's over 80,000 square feet, yet its demand on the water system and infrastructure is quite low. The project will only have 2 bathrooms, drinking fountains, and fire sprinklers. However, a fee, for example, of $2 per square foot on our project results in an added cost of over $160,000 for 2 bathrooms, water fountains, and fire sprinklers. By the way, our project is a net reduction in daily water demand compared to the current and historical use of the building on site that's been there for the last 20 years. And furthermore, this is in stark contrast to the water demand and usage of a, for example, 2,000 square foot gym or restaurant with 3 bathrooms or, cooking and whatnot equipment and water use. Therefore, I ask that if they go back to the drawing board on this rate case, Veolia and the PSC look at actual demand by commercial use for the varying commercial uses so that it's an equitable fee charged to all the commercial projects in Portchester. Thank you.
Thank you. Vinny, it looks like we have one more raised hand from a call-in user. You've been unmuted. Please provide your name.
Yeah, I bet you he went in through the computer and got on, probably.
We can hear you now, sir.
Yeah, he told me to do the call-in. That's what he did.
Okay, what's your name? And please provide your statement.
All right. Yep. Hello?
Sir, I don't know if you're aware that we can hear you at the public statement here.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. We had John McCauley, but he had to leave. So can I read a statement for him? And then I also have a statement.
Sure, that'd be fine. Please spell his name and then your name when you give your statement.
Okay. John McCauley, and his last name is spelled M-A-C-A-U-L-A-Y.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I am calling to emphasize to the Department of Public Service that Veolia should be applauded for its commitment to improving the water infrastructure in Rockland County. In this rate filing, Veolia is pledging to invest $473 million to improve and enhance the county's water system. Since their last rate filing 4 years ago, they've invested $440 million. That means that from 2020 to 27, Veolia will invest $913 million into Rockland County. That's amazing. Infrastructure across the United States is crumbling. We need more companies like Veolia that are willing to invest in the future of our country. Our water mains need to be replaced along and service lines. Hydrants and meters, the Veolia rate filing is in the best interest of customers. Thank you. And then I have mine. My name is Ken Lewis, L-E-W-I-S. I am speaking for Labor's Local 754, 215 Oneida Turnpike, Chestnut Ridge, New York. We are Rockland County's only private sector trade union with approximately 450 members. We are speaking in support of Veolia and their modest rate increase request. Veolia has been a great friend to the community by ensuring that quality contractors are hired to do their infrastructure improvements. Contractors that pay prevailing wages and benefits using local area skilled tradesmen. Year in and year out, they generate thousands of quality man hours for local men and women that reverberates and strengthens the community both economically and socially. Combined with their commitment to the state-of-the-art infrastructure improvements to the tune of $473 million, this filing and their commitment to charity and community improvement, we feel this modest increase is warranted. Thank you very much for letting me speak today.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Zinnia, I don't see any more raised hands. Do you?
No, I do not see any more raised hands.
Okay, in that case, I am going to close the hearing. I would again like to remind everyone that we'll be holding another public statement hearing this evening at 6 o'clock. Anyone who would like to can also submit comments through the department's website, by regular mail, or by phone, as described in the notice that was issued on January 25th, 2024. Judge Moreno and I would like to thank everyone for their participation here today, especially staff from the department's Office of Consumer Services and our court reporter. The hearing is concluded. We're off the record. Thank you. Everybody have a nice afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you,
We're
you
off
as
the
well.